And here we are on That's a Tap. Welcome back, DJ and CT, with you. It's a pleasure to be with you to chop this thing up. On this episode, it's going to be the UFC 280 preview, a huge card, Abu Dhabi, and we're going to breeze through what's led us to this. But DJ, my man, how have we been?
CT, man, it's good to be back. It's good to see you. It's been a minute, but here we are. And no better card to come back to UFC 280. I've just been waiting for this card for such a long time since it got announced. Stack card, top to bottom. You know what I mean? Like we can't really. Usually we pick one or two fights, which are key fights in a card, and we talk about it. But in this card, we've just got literally top to bottom. Talk about main card, man. Every single fight in the main card can be a main event on its own on a fight night. So it's just crazy. Um, Nothing but excitement, man. Like, I mean, good to be here more than anything to chat UFC with you, chat MMA with you. We obviously, got some big news about, Australia, Perth, that got announced as well. We'll speak about that. But Ben, we're blessed with two back to back, crazy mouth watering cards.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the best time of year. The UFC for a few years now have been stacking these cards, October, November, December, and a great end to this year ends with a bang. And here we are.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great episode. And, we were joking backstage where we usually pick a few of the highlight fights.
Yeah.
And this time it's like we have to touch on everyone.
The whole card's a highlight, man. The whole card's a highlight. oh,
Oh,
man. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. What do we have right at the top? Start at the top because I mean, this is a fight for the ages. You cannot go past it. So I want to do due diligence. I want to start with the big one, right? The main event, right? Charles Oliveira taking on Islam Makhachev, right? 11 fight win streak, 10 fight win streak. Khabib's protege taking on, the unstoppable force that's Charles Oliveira, who's had a resurgence, right? Who's beat the who's and who's of that division, right? He's not leaving any doubt. There's no controversial decisions. It's a stoppage. Everything other than Tony's been a stoppage. So we've got literally, to quote the great Dark Knight, we've got an immovable object colliding against a crazy force, and like we're going to see what's going to happen. Like it's one of those fights where you can't predict. Now, before I ask about generally how the fight's going to make you feel, I'm going to ask you this: does the lightweight division have a champion? We know all this craziness about the weight miss and everything that happened last time with Charles Oliveira, but according to you, do we have a champ in the lightweight division?
yeah. Yep. His name's
Absolutely.
Charles Oliveira.
But as a champion, his name's Charles Oliveira. That's it.
Mm,
As is some of the promos that they're
yeah.
sending out, man, it's crazy. It just increases the excitement, right? Okay,
Yep.
tell me your general feel about this fight.
Look, I don't know where to start, but first and foremost, I've got the utmost respect for both fighters. Um, terms of styles make fights. Like this is just gives you everything, gives you everything you want to see as an MMA fan, a UFC
Yeah,
fan, and fan of personalities, fans of history, their backgrounds, the pedigrees
yeah,
they come from, and this
yeah.
is a DJ. This is definitely a legacy fight.
Oh, like
This,
man, 100%, brother. This is a legacy fight. You hit the nail on the head, right? I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Right. You got Charles Oliveira, who's been great. You've got Islam Makhachev, who's been unstoppable. You know, there's a lot of talk. We'll get to the predictions at the end, but there's a lot of talk about Islam Makhachev not being tested by the top five or the top contenders in this division. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's incorrect. You know, to get to where they are, all these fighters have really earned their way, and if they've made it look easier than what people think it might be, then
Yeah,
that's their that's fair for them to feel. But I personally feel like all these fighters have earned their way. Um, you know, they've gone through the hard lumps, and they've they've had some huge wins, and yeah, they're definitely deserving.
CT. Yeah, agree. I mean, man, like I think we need to put this talk about Islam haven't hasn't faced any top contenders in the division. Let's be honest, he actually was calling everyone out. No one really wanted to fight him. Like he wasn't ducking anyone. He was calling Chandler out. I think he called Poirier out. He called everyone out, right? Even McGregor at one point. Gaethje was going after. It's just none of these guys wanted to fight him, right? It's a tough matchup, right? They obviously want to take the quickest route and the safest route back to the top, so they can, start fighting for those the title again. I mean, look, not to say anyone's scared of anyone. This is a sport where you go into a cage and you beat each other up. So there's no one scared of anyone. It's just more a marketing or call it business minded even, right? Ultimately, the goal is to get to the championship, right? You get pay-per-view points, money wise, it's a good place to be. So why take a risk is what they're saying. It's not, I'm scared, I don't want to fight this guy. No, it's at the end of the day, for these fighters, you get into the cage, it's just opponent against opponent. I throw limbs, you throw limbs, and we're just going to see who's going to win, right? They just don't want to take that risk because there's that added risk with someone like a Makhachev, obviously Khabib before that, is where, they're so dominant, right? Is that you don't want to risk that. You lose, you fall a few pegs. Right, let's say, for example, Chandler fights Makachum and he loses. He's going to fall a few pegs and he's going to have to climb back. Maybe instead of one step up, he's going to go now 3 steps, right?
Yep.
So I'm glad you agree. That notion of him having not tested. I mean, even the ones who he fought, he ended those fights in emphatic fashion, right?
Yep.
And I think, to be honest, it's a tough matchup. There's sort of a lot of talk going around saying, Charles is really great, which he is, and it's going to be, quite easy. I see a lot of predictions where people are easily predicting Charles. So, I just honestly think it's going to be a way tougher matchup, and Islam Makhachev is actually really good, right? He is good. I do honestly believe that. Now, we're going to talk about a champion, right? Like, let's be honest, CT, let's rewind 2 years, 3 years back, right? Before the pandemic even. Was Charles Oliveira in your radar in the lightweight division?
No. I mean, that's just what's made this more impressive, and just how deserving he is, how strong he is to force his way to where he is at, the respect,
Absolutely,
the wins he's had, and there's even, we heard Bisping talk about if he wins this, he's the light goat. I mean, I don't agree with that personally. I think, but he could be closer, that's for sure. But I don't put him as the automatic lightweight goat if he wins. But what did you think of that?
Yeah, well, just out of curiosity, who do you have as the lightweight goat?
Oh, look, I think it's got to be Habib right now.
Still Habib, yeah. Well, I mean, there's always that question mark, right? Like, if he stayed, a lot of people say he would have still been dominant. So, man, a matchup we would have loved to see was Oliveira and Khabib. But we're getting Oliveira and Islam, which is close enough. I agree, man. Like 2-3 years ago, Oliveira wasn't in my radar. I remember seeing a fight between him and Kevin Lee, and this is after Kevin Lee had his resurgence after that crazy spinning knockout at Madison Square Gardens, if you recall, right? And then he was back up, coming up, and obviously Kevin Lee's an exciting name. He had fought for the interim championship, and then what happened? Like, man, Oliveira ran through him. It was quite a dominant performance, and kind of like made me pay attention. And then the very next fight was against what's his name, Tony Ferguson, and then again a very dominant performance. While I was impressed, I was like, all right, look, Tony had a bad loss to Gaethje. Maybe Tony wasn't himself. And then he fights for the open lightweight title against Chandler. And man, what a performance that was. Like, it was very reminiscent of his career, right? Gets knocked down and kind of loses the first round, comes back and puts a stamp on it and wins it. And then you got the Poirier fight again, who's losing the first round, comes back and finishes the fight. And then the Gaethje fight, obviously much shorter in terms of fight time, first round itself. Like, obviously faces some adversity, gets knocked down, stands back up, goes right back into the fire, makes his way in, knocks him down, takes his back and finishes him, right? Like, in the quick transitions, he's so slick. He's just, to be honest, like, he's one of my top 3 favorite fighters to watch, man. Like he's not just a champion, but he's also
Yeah.
very exciting. His fights are exciting. He's a champion who brings it, and his storyline is amazing. I think a very deserving champion. I remember when the title was won against Chandler, there was a lot of talk about, look, Khabib held the title, and then we had the likes of McGregor prior to that. And it's always been this lightweight's been this division that's considered to be one of the hardest divisions. And then the open title wasn't really right. It should have been Gaethje and Poirier fighting for that title, but then Oliveira comes out and stamps all that noise, right? Beats all of those people that we just
Yeah.
outlined. So to be honest, right? Like to be honest, if Charles were to beat Islam, right, and obviously the manner in which he beats him will come into play as well. But if he were to beat him, I think, right, I think maybe he might surpass Khabib, right? While
Mhm.
Khabib's got that 29 and all, right? I'm looking at right now, right, and then you're fighting people that are really good. Obviously, all these things, and to look at Islam Makhachev, he's Khabib's pro DJ, so you assume they're very similar in fighting style as well, right? Like so, look, you know what? I like that confusion to be there. I mean, you're saying Khabib's still the GOAT. Maybe I'm saying could Oliveira might surpass him. But that's exciting, right? Maybe if this chatter increases, if there's a lot more uncertainty, who knows, man? We might see Khabib just say, you know what? I'm sick of this talk. Let me try. Let me get in there and show them, right? And we might get that fight. You never know, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. The uncertainty is good, but I personally don't think Khabib's ever coming back. To be honest, like I don't think, and I don't think he should. Right? He's left it with. He left his career like a Christopher Nolan movie, right?
Yeah.
Really great movie, like great, amazing, splendid, right, wonderful, and then leaves it with like a question mark saying, "I am great, right? No one could touch me." Then all these questions, everyone, but could Oliveira do this? Could this person do this? Right? But then, yeah, it's a question mark, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's great. I think I like it. So, man, all right, let's talk about the fighting style, right? Like, what do you think? How do you think this fight's going to play out? Is it going to play out on the feet, play out on the ground? We got like a jiu-jitsu whiz going against like a strong wrestler, a combat sambo artist. So, what do you think? What do you think? How do you think this fight's going to play out?
I think it's going to be more stand up than what people might expect, but there's certainly going to be big periods of the fight where Islam's going to be looking for that
Yeah.
opening. That
Yeah.
opening, Charles, it's going to come down to the timing of him and his defense, and
Yeah.
also being dominant in the striking area, so that Makachev keeps his distance as well to avoid damage.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
with that said, I think it's going to be more of the stand up. What do you think?
Okay. Interesting, because I do think it's probably obviously Oliveira. Again, look, this is hard because Oliveira is such a well-rounded fighter. He can hold his own on the field or on the ground. He can hold his
Mm.
own, right? He's
Yep.
very skilled. He's very well-rounded. Now, there are talks that Islam's striking is probably not on par with his wrestling, so he probably would be more keen to take the person down. But we've also heard people in his camp, people around him, say, no, actually, Islam's striking is really good. We just haven't had the opportunity to see it, right? I think Charles will go for a very kickboxing heavy approach. Right, he's always got that Muay Thai stance, and
Yep.
he's very busy. He's a busy fighter on the field. He keeps constant pressure. Right now, the problem is, like, especially with this kickboxing style of fighting, is that you find yourself in one leg most of the time. Right, one thing Islam's great at, if you see his fighting, is finding that opening and shooting. He shoots so fast, right? Before next thing you're on the ground, right? You're getting all this crazy pressure on the ground, and which is what Islam
Yep.
does. Now, what makes this exciting though is that Oliveira likes to play on the ground too, right? He goes down and he fights really well off the bat. It really comes down to, right, is Charles's jiu-jitsu superior to Islam's wrestling, or vice versa, right?
Yep.
I do think Charles will try and keep the fight on the feet as much as possible. Uh, I don't think he should underestimate Islam's striking, which always happens whenever they fight a wrestler. They always underestimate the striking and keep a lot
Yep.
of openings for them to exploit. So I think he should be careful there. Whereas Islam's probably going to try and bring him to the ground as soon as possible, wear him down. That's what they do. Wear him down, look for those submissions, and just ground and pound, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll start at on the feet, and they'll obviously, and then they'll try and Charles will try and keep it up there. But I do think it goes to the ground quite quickly. But then that's where the exciting part happens, to be honest, personally, what I feel, right? Because they're both specialists in a certain area. And that area happens to be on the ground for the both of them, which usually we don't see. We get striker versus grappler, but we're getting like a well-rounded fighter against what we feel is a wrestler, but people known to Islam say he's also a good striker. So I think I'd love to see those exchanges on the ground. I'd like to see those transitions. It's going to be exciting, man. Like, I think it's going to be an exciting fight, right? Having said that, you never know. This is MMA. You never know. Prediction time. All right. We got some predictions to make. Right. Who are you going with, CT? Who are you going with?
Throw me under the bus. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Definitely feeling, actually, you know how I'm always sort of feeling like it could go, on the fence, could go either way. I'm feeling actually pretty confident that Charles takes it. I think he's been in, I've just seen him in every different situation. You know, he's been challenged with many different opponents, and I just feel like now's the most time where I'm confident he's just going to come through and deliver. And I think he's going to finish him in the third round.
Wow. Yeah. It's not just a prediction, but also the round as well, and the manner in which the victory will be made. Okay, cool. Man, I've been torn about this one. I've been very torn about this because Charles Oliveira is one of my favorite fighters, right? Him being a champion for the lightweight division has been something very, very exciting for me, right? And I want that journey to continue, right?
Yeah.
But I also want to look at facts. I think Islam Makhachev has been groomed, right, from a very young age to say it's for them. They've breathed championship. They breathe victory. Like, the loss is not in their mindset, right? That's the mindset they have. They train more than they do anything else, right? This is the moment he's been waiting for, right? I just don't think he will fumble, especially with Khabib behind him as well. I do think he gets the win, and I think it's going to be a decision after 5 rounds.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a very grappling heavy fight. I'd love to be proven wrong. I mean, look, it's one of those fights where the boat's killed enough, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going with Makhachev. All right.
Makhachev, wow.
Yes. Yep. Makhachev 5-round decision.
In 5. Yeah. So he's the new lightweight champ. That's gonna.
That's what I feel. That's what I feel. And then it also, if he were to win, and if he becomes a lightweight champ, we get to see something also exciting, which is a lot more people wanting to fight him. Right?
Oh yeah. It's going to be line up.
There is a dearly beloved Aussie lurking in the background in that lightweight title contention, right? Which is we'll talk about him a little bit later, right?
Yeah.
But look, either fight makes sense for Volkanovski, right? Both are exciting fights, right? Whoever the lightweight champion is, the best. Like, let's be honest. I think, would you agree if I were to say, let's not forget, before I make this statement, I need to make one thing clear. We've got some crazy talent in that lightweight division who haven't even sometimes broken that top 10 or just entering the top 10, right? We got Gamrot, who's fighting in this card. We've got Fiziev, right? We've got Armin. There's some crazy talent, right? I think Jalen Turner fights in the lightweight division as well. So let's not forget those. But the question I was about to ask was, would you agree the winner of this fight is the best lightweight at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. I think these two are like at the top of the mountain at the moment. But we know how quick it can swing. We know how quick it can change. We're going to obviously talk about the next pay-per-view in November, MSG. You've got Dustin Poirier versus Michael
there's
Chandler.
Another big fight there. Yeah, big fight. And they're both fresh matchups. So Makhachev, it's Makhachev. If it's for Charles, it's a rematch, but again, could be exciting, right? So I'm
Yeah,
glad you agreed. I honestly do think the two best lightweights are going for the title. Whoever wins
yeah,
is the best lightweight, right? And the
that,
best lightweight then takes on the pound for pound number one. You can't ask for a better story, man. Like, sign me up. Perth, RAC
yep.
Arena. We bring the roof down, you know.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a tap. We'll be in the
that's a
building.
ta-
More,
in the
more to
building, and
come.
more to come. More to come. Robert the Reaper Whitaker. We're going to be there. Um, so, right, co-main, right? Oh, no, look, we spent a lot of time on the main event, and rightfully so. We
Mm.
got now a co-main event, right? Another championship fight. This is what we're saying. We're getting treated, man. We're getting treated by the UFC. We got the human backpack, Aljamain
Oh,
Funkmaster Sterling, taking on TJ Dillashaw, right? Uh, Again, man, whew,
looking ripped.
look, Aljo has been doubted a lot since that first victory over Jan and the manner in which he won the title. But he went back and he put a clear stamp on his victory to say, look, I can beat Peter Yan, right? And he did. And now we got TJ Dillashaw, who's coming from some. Obviously, had the big break, a lot of controversy with the PEDs, and then had a controversial win over Corey Sandhagen. And I still do think he won, but there's a lot of um,
Mm. Yep.
argument or debate over that, which rightfully so. It was a very close fight, two great fighters. Anyway, here we are.
Yep.
He won that fight. He got that number one spot. We thought before Aljo Jan 2 that the next fight is going to be Jan and Dillashaw. Obviously, Aljamain won it. Great champion, 100% bantamweight champion, takes on TJ Dillashaw. Right? Come on, give
Yep.
me your thoughts on this fight, CT.
Look, I feel confident again. For me, obviously, Dillashaw. We know his path, recent path, and it's been a while. It's been a while, and I think he's going to ease his way in. He's going to ease his way in. But for me, Sterling is at the top of the mountain. To me, it'd be an
Yeah,
upset. If Aljo loses, it'd be a boil over.
yeah,
Respect Dillashaw, but for me, Aljo is looking to make a statement, looking to
yeah,
say, hey, you know, forget about all this forget about all this yarn stuff.
yeah.
Like,
No,
put some respect on my name.
put some respect on my name. Exactly, exactly. Look, it's going to be a very competitive fight, right? Aljo, yeah, he's got good striking as well, but obviously, again, his strength is on the ground, like his wrestling,
Mm,
his jiu-jitsu game. See,
yep,
he's known as a human backpack for a reason, right? Because once he grabs a hold of your back, it's hard to get him off, right?
it's over.
DJ Dillashaw's no done on the ground. Obviously, he's got his own wrestling accolades. He can keep his own, right?
Yeah,
He's got good takedown defense, obviously, but his strength is his striking, right? Well, look, to be honest, man, like, I used to be a massive DJ fan, or I guess I still am to an extent, but that PED stuff did take, like, it was kind of a
mm,
kick in the gut for all the fans, right?
yep, facts.
It is what it is, right? Like, I mean, he's probably one of the most tested athletes at the moment, so we know he's fighting
Mm,
clean. But the one thing that I've always admired him is, man, his striking is a work of art, right? He's one of the
yep,
cleanest, crispest strikers. His boxing is on point. There's a sparring video out there between him and Lomachenko, right? If
yep,
you get time, have a look at it. It's a thing of beauty, right? So his
yep,
striking is clean, right? Now he fought Corey Sandhagen after a 2 year gap, right? And he held his own. I believe he won 3 rounds. Um, he came back and he fought a top contender. Corey Sandhagen is one of the best, right?
yep,
He came in and he fought him, right? And he beat him. And the fact that he fought him and went 5 rounds alone was amazing to have that big break and come back. And then obviously won that fight. He's a Sandhagen's a striker, long rangey striker, and he was still able to get through that. So I do think
mm,
he's going to find a lot of success on the feet. Dillashaw, that is. But I also do think Aljo will get him down. I do think Aljo will get him down, and Aljo will
yeah,
do his best work there. Um, I think it's going to be it'll be a close fight. I believe it'll be a back and forth fight. I don't see it being finished, to be honest. You never know,
Yeah.
right? I personally, this is my take on it. I
Yeah.
do believe it'll be decision victory for Aljo. Like you said, if Aljo loses, it's actually an upset, is what I believe.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think Aljo's got that mindset, man.
Yeah. But also the great unknown for TJ, like he's strong, and and people might forget, having that layoff, and
Mm.
he's looking to obviously make a huge statement. So yeah, that element makes me really look forward to this fight. Like,
Yeah,
how legit is Sterling versus a great contender?
yeah,
Um, just great co-main. Um, has
great
the
comment,
unknown
man.
has the unknown
Yep,
factor. It has
yeah,
boil over potential, but I
yeah,
expect Aljo to win. Um, could I see him finishing him? Probably no. You're right. I think I
yeah,
could see this going the distance.
yeah. Agree. I mean, I think we'll look happy to be proven wrong. The more
Yeah.
finishes, the more exciting the fights are. But I think I think it goes the distance. Right. I do believe
Yeah.
both the fights, main and core main, go the distance. But we'll have to
Yeah.
wait 3 more sleeps before
Cool.
we can find out.
Yeah.
Um.
Facts.
Right. So, and look, which now what I'm about to say next is gonna have direct implications on this fight or the winner of this fight. Is that Dana White's gone out and said, look, you can see the winner of the core main, right, facing the winner of the core main event, right,
Ooh.
which
Ooh.
is the core main event. That is Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley, or should I
Sugar
say
Sean.
Piotr Yan,
Yeah.
right? Yan versus O'Malley.
The Sugar Show.
And not Sugar Show, right, man? Like the Sugar Show is in full swing, right? You see social media, the Sugar Show is in full swing, and that's a good example. You go to social media and you see all these things on every media page. That's a good example of why he's an exciting fighter, why people want to watch him, because he's
Yeah.
out there and he's doing the right things. So look, trust me, man, people will be tuned in to watch that fight. I will
Oh,
be. I'm keen. I think it's probably. I know there's so many. I mean, you can't go past the main event. So like, but I reckon if I were to pick 2 fights I'd want to watch out of the whole card, it'll be the main event and the Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley
yeah.
fight, right? I
Yep.
think
You're on
it's
point.
just exciting, man. It's fireworks, right? I think Sean O'Malley
Strikers.
is 2 strikers, 2 crisp strikers. While Sean O'Malley hasn't broken into the top 10, I do think he's elite, right? I think this fight will
Yep.
prove it, right? Win or lose, I think he will hold his own, right?
Yep.
And then we got Peter Yan, who we know how good he is, right? And it's a 3-round fight, man. That's a recipe for a banger, right? Because you
Oh,
don't have to hold your gas
good
tank
point.
as long. You know what I mean? So these 3-round fights, man, like they just bring it. So we got the number 1 contender in Piotr Yan. Apologies every time I say it wrong.
No,
And
that's
we
right, I
got
think.
Sean O'Malley the up and coming, not a
Yep.
prospect anymore, right? Up and coming superstar. Surprisingly, not in the top 10 yet, but up and coming superstar, right?
A crowd favorite.
Crowd favorite, right? I mean, I believe, right? I believe this fight for Sean O'Malley is like the Chad Mendes fight for McGregor,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Like, I mean, or even an Aldo fight. You can see, you can even compare to an Aldo fight, right? You're going against this big, you know, strong fighter, like who's got such strong credentials as being a champion, right? Former champ, dominant fighter, widely regarded as one of the best fighters in the world. And you got this prospect. He goes in, loudmouth, loves to talk a lot, goes in, and imagine if he were to dismantle Yan. I
oh,
think that propels him, right? We've got another. I honestly don't think we have another McGregor in the UFC. In all honesty, I don't think there will ever be another McGregor, but I think it puts him in that stratosphere. It puts if he were to get a win in an emphatic fashion, I think it puts him in that stratosphere.
yep. Definitely. I just think he's just as short of that. But yeah, you're right. He would go one step further to being like a real superstar. We don't
Yeah,
throw that word superstar around very often. There's
don't use
stars in
that
the
word
UFC.
lightly, my friend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
certainly stars all over the roster, but
Yeah,
who is if I asked you to add a list of who are the superstars of the
Yeah.
UFC, it'd probably be a list of no bigger than 4 or 5 people, right?
Could think three
5,
on the top of
6.
my head at this
Yeah,
moment, man. That's could think three. I could think McGregor, Adesanya, and maybe
and
if he were
some
to come, if Sugar Show were to win, yeah, Sugar Show maybe, yeah,
maybe 2 females. Yeah, I was thinking maybe
yeah,
Nunes
yeah.
and
That's
and
true.
and and and, and,
Yeah, we
and
got
Whaley,
Nunes,
someone Whaley or
Whaley Rose before that lost
Chev.
though. Yeah,
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 but
Shevchenko.
yeah,
Yeah. There's a few. That's true. Yeah,
yeah,
look,
I
man.
think
Like, look,
big stand-up game. This one,
yeah,
I
agreed.
could see a finish. I could really see a finish. This one, could you?
I could actually, I could, and I
Yeah.
can give you a prediction. Like, my prediction is going to be right. I think Sean O'Malley's going to get it done, man. I think he's going to get it
Oh,
done.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he's
yeah.
going to
I
put him
thought
away. I think he's going
you were
to
built.
put it Peter down away.
Yeah, you were building up to that. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yep, no, I could see that. Yeah,
Was yours?
look, I could definitely see that happening, like what you predicted.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm willing to go as far as predicting that'll happen, but I could definitely see that. I mean, Jan's one tough sob.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah. You cannot
he's
deny
built for
that.
this
Yeah.
kind of fight. He's tough. He could take punches. He's a
Yeah.
boxer. Um,
Yeah.
I just think, yeah, this is going to be his ultimate test. I think O'Malley is going to be too big though. I just
Yeah.
think he's going to be too big for Jan. What do you think of that?
Yeah. I think he's rangy, right? He's rangy.
Yeah,
No denying, right? However, however, I think what's his name? Corey Sandhagen is similar. Is similar build, isn't he? I would assume so. Like,
Sandhagen. Yep,
they
I
won't be
think
too
so. Yeah,
far off.
yep,
And then Peter Yan fought Corey Sandhagen in a crazy fight, and he
mm,
beat him, right?
yep,
Decisively. It wasn't so. I think Peter
yep,
Yan's good at range management and sort of getting in, right? While yes, but I just think Sean O'Malley's he gets these angles that probably some of the other fighters don't, and his fight IQ is quite good as well, man. Like all these like joking around and everything. Sometimes people misunderstand that, thinking this guy is probably not, you know, not able to fight as good. But don't let that fool you. I think his fight IQ is really great too. His shot selection, sort of how calm he is in there, and he's a showman. Like every time he fights, there's a show, man. Like even inside the octagon, like it's not easy, right? That's very McGregor-esque, right? Like that's sort of what
yep.
McGregor used to do, right? Remember that Madison Square Garden fight? So yeah. Um, but yeah, like, so you think that O'Malley's going to win too?
Yep. I'll give him the edge.
Yeah,
Yeah, but this is probably out of the first 3 fights we've broken down. I think
yeah,
this is going to be the closest. As in, like, I honestly think it could be 50-50 in terms of who
yeah,
wins.
yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect, man. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. Now we'll go to the fourth fight in the card. Not very often do we get to like have all these crazy fights. Right? We've got Matthews Gamrot taking on Beneil Darius. Right now, Darius was meant to take on Islam Makhachev not too long ago, if you remember, in March.
Yeah.
Darius got injured and obviously had to drop out of that fight. Bobby Green stepped in, and we all know what happened. And then so now Darius is going to take on Gamrot. If you saw Gamrot's last fight against Armin Sarukian, man, the pace of the fight, the transitions, right? It was just insane. It was like a video game. Like, you just, it's as if they didn't have a gas tank. They just didn't stop. Now, it was very undecisive. The decision obviously went to Gamrot. I thought Armin won. Either way, right? There was no real loser in that fight. It's one of those fights where either one of those guys could win, but it was a crazy fight. Like, I mean, I remember looking at the fight and thinking it was a main event in the card, and I was like, well, what sort of main event is this? Like, I haven't heard of, like, not heard of it. I've heard of these guys, but I didn't realize they were main event caliber. And then they obviously, the fight itself was a huge, fu to me, to say, there you go, that's why we're main event,
Yeah.
right? Like, right, look, man, it was one of the best fights I've seen. Gamrot is a former 2-time K1 champion, I've learned. So he's obviously got his accolades. He's a great fighter. And then we got Beneil, who's also a very well-rounded fighter, right? He's a strong
Yeah.
wrestler, exciting finishes in some of his. He had that, um, spinning back fist knockout against Drakkar Close, I believe, and all these kind of things that he's always been an exciting fight to do. So I think it's going to be a very good matchup, right? It's going to be two guys who can fight wherever the fight goes, right? Very, very similar, or even more similar. Maybe 80% similar to the main event, right? And I'm only saying 80% because obviously Makhachev's stand ups, we haven't seen much of it, right? But whereas
Yeah.
with Benil and Gamrot, we've seen their stand up and we've seen their ground game, and they're both very strong. So like we got two, equal components going at each other. So what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, like much like the last one, I think this could go either way, honestly. Like it's just talk about two bulls colliding. Um, one thing I can be sure of, there's fireworks.
Yeah,
That's basically it. Two tough
the whole
SOBs,
card's fireworks,
like you
man.
said. I
Yeah,
mean, you're splitting hairs. It's like
yeah,
whoever can make great clean connection could end the fight.
yeah,
Yeah. What about you?
yep, yep. 100%, man. We got two well-rounded fighters. Any one of these fights in this card, right? Like in the main card, you can just close your eyes and pick someone. It could be plausible, right? That's how
Yeah,
well matches up.
it's a good
Kudos to the
analogy.
matchmakers, man. I mean, get this card. If anyone asks why is UFC the best organization out there, right? In terms of mixed martial arts, this card is an example, right? I know, CT, you're very high on the Madison Square Garden card. I am too. I think it's an exciting card, but I personally believe this so far is the best card of the year. And I know we haven't seen the December card fully. We've heard about Yuri and Glover too being announced. But for me personally, I think in this card so far, we haven't seen the end of it, but for me on paper, the best card that the UFC has put out there in a very, very long time. And UFC is good at
Yeah,
putting really stacked cards. So, um,
yeah,
right now, before I get carried away with my rant, so we go to the Darius fight, Gamrot Darius. Okay, all right. Look, well-rounded fighters, but I think Darius is you got to play. Experience plays a part, right? Um, in that sense, Darius has been in there in that octagon as faced adversity, has been with top contenders, right? And he's going to bring that experience. And we've heard and we've seen that he's a very hard worker, right? Remember, not too long ago when Darius and Makachev were announced, we were saying how close and how very close they are in terms of skill level, right?
mm,
So I'm going to give the edge to Darius. I think he's going to get it done. Again, I think it's a decision though. I don't think it's going to be a finish.
yep. I was leaning towards Darius as well. Yep, we
Yeah.
we're on the same page
Yeah.
there. I just think consistency, experience, the path he's on. I just
Yeah.
expect him to continue. Expect him
Yeah.
to continue with that. But yeah, that
Yeah.
fight, like the Jan Sean, that could go either way. Yeah.
It could
Um,
be either way. Yep.
but
Yeah.
talk about three
And
rounder as well. So
it's a three
who'd have
rounder,
to
man.
get
Like
the
the
ascendancy?
Yeah, the three rounders. And like, look, Dana White's been pretty clear. Even the matchmakers, or it's make yourself stand out if you want that next fight, right? Like, let's be honest. We're talking about Poirier Chandler fighting next in the next card. Obviously, got title implications possibly. We've got Alexander Volkanovski, who looks like likely he's going to get the title, and hopefully, fingers crossed. But it all comes down to like how these people win, right? If Darius goes in and destroys Gamrot, or vice versa, right? The winner of that fight is going to be looked at the next contender. Like, you've
Yep.
just gone through, especially if it's Darius. There's a good argument to be made that Darius, who was locked in to fight Makachev not too long ago, now has gone in and got another standout knockout, and now he's claiming he's asking for that title shot. This is provided Islam wins and Darius wins. So I think there's a good case to make that fight. So to be honest, Ben, there's so many options. It just comes down to how they're going to perform, how these guys are going to perform, and get their name out there, right? Um,
Yep.
and also, like, just to quickly touch on it, like I did say, Darius brings in a lot of experience, and I think some people might say, "Oh, what about Charles?" You're saying Makhachev is going to get the victory, but Charles has got a lot more main event and championship experience compared to Makhachev. Rightfully, yeah, true, correct. But in Makhachev, what I'm trying to say is that you've got this person who's been groomed from day one to be to be the champion, right? They eat, sleep, and breathe, mixed martial arts, and then winning and becoming a champion, right? And
Yeah.
so that's just completely different, right? So the way they're molded is different, right? And they will bring that fire. So that's why I'm giving the edge to Makhachev in that sense. While Charles most
Mm.
definitely has the experience. And like I said, I did say it's a 50-50. Like, while I'm picking that, either person can win. It's one of those fights. No, we got the main card opener is a women's flyweight fight. We got Caitlin Chukagian taking on Manon Fiorot, right?
Yeah.
Fiorot had a great performance in UFC Paris, I believe, and then we got Caitlin as well, who's been quite dominant, but obviously had a very bad loss to the champion. When I say a bad loss, it was a very dominating performance from Valentina, right? So look, obviously, again, can be considered a title contender or a number one contender fight. Or if Chukagian wins, obviously they look at that rematch. And yeah, look, good fight. I think I've seen Fiorot fight recently. She's again very dominant, she's a pressure fighter. She comes forward. Obviously, Caitlin's
Yeah.
again like a kickboxing. Again, a very striking heavy fighter. Man, it's again sticks to the theme of the card. It's a hard fight to pick. So, but in this, I'm just actually going to go Fiorot for the upset. She's up and coming.
Ooh.
She's hungry. She seems like she's man. You got to watch her fight. She's just she gets in that cage and she just goes forward, crazy pressure. Like, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with Fiorot, right? What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. Nice. Yep. Yeah. I like her too, and definitely I could see her, taking a big leap and moving on to big things.
Yep.
It's just, yeah, for me, this one's kind of splitting hairs. I'm gonna go with not to go against you, but I'll go with
Yeah.
Caitlin. I think she bounces
Yeah. Of
back.
course.
Um,
Yep.
I think she bounces back, but yeah, this is going to be a really big test. Two losses in a row. It's not going to be a great position to be in. So I think, yeah, she'll be looking for a great
Yep.
bounce back to this one, and obviously, like you said,
Yep.
make a statement. Put herself right back there in big
Yep.
fight talks.
Yep. Yeah,
Mm.
true. No, I agree. Like, I mean, we did have another flyweight fight not too long ago, which is last card, which was Grasso and Arajo. Obviously,
Yep.
Grasso won that. Maybe she could fight if Caitlin were to win, she can fight Grasso maybe before she fights Valentina for the title.
Yep.
Um, so yeah,
Facts.
it'll be very interesting. But look, let's see. Let's see. She's obviously racking a few wins as well. But it's one of those divisions again where you got one a very dominant champion. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
Mm.
um,
Yep. Definitely.
okie
It's a
dokie.
great fight to open the main card. What a main
Yeah, man,
card it
great
is.
fight. Yeah,
Just to
it's one of those
summarize
sleeper fights,
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, you've got Charles and Islam right at the top. We'll finish off proceedings in emphatic fashion. We've got Aljo TJ, an amazing bantamweight showdown for the championship. We've got another bantamweight banger in Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley. We've got a lightweight matchup, fireworks around it, Darius and Gamrot. And then we've got a great main card opener in Chukagian and Fioro, right? So it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a good card, man. Look, bathroom breaks and everything, you get them up at the start of the main card. Like, even if you want, you're probably not going to be going, right? So yeah, we got that. Let's go preliminary card.
Yeah. Some deep fights on this prelim.
Man, even the prelims, right? Obviously, we're not going to have time to break down every single fight, but I just want to name some standout fights here, right? Got Bilal Mohammed and Sean Brady, right?
Mm.
The feature prelim, right? Man,
Oh,
what a great fight that is, right? Again, in the manner in which each of these guys win could have title implications. The winner of Edwards and
Yeah.
and Usman might fight one of these guys, right? There's no clear cut contender. Well, we got, I know what's his name, Hamza hasn't made a decision on which division he's going to, but maybe he's going to do 170 again. Look, we got that. Again, Sean Brady, man, one of those guys, undefeated. Let's not forget, he's 15-0, right, undefeated. Right, he's again this is again another. They got the matchups right, man. Like we got Bilal Mohammed, who's a strong wrestler, and we got Sean Brady, who's also a strong grappler, a wrestler, right? So we got two strong wrestlers going at each other, man. Like I remember Sean Brady submitted, what's his name? I feel so bad. Can't remember his name. Let me get this. I'll get this. Michael Chiesa, right? He had a very dominant win over Michael Chiesa not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
And look, he beat our very own Jake Matthews as well. But like, I feel like Jake Matthews is a different animal now, man. He's resurging in there as well. So yeah, we got that. It's a great fight. Sean Brady has been another one of those guys who a lot of people have avoided in that division. Again, that marketing decision or the business decision, like it's a high risk fight, right? You can lose it, and then you finding yourself back in the bottom of the ladder. So that's one of those exciting prelims there. What else do we have here? We got Walker and Oezdemir, right? Who had a win in the last card. He's coming up against Nikita Krylov, who also had a win. That's a great fight, light heavyweight, right? It's an exciting division as well. So we got that. We got two of Khabib's cousins fighting, Subaira and Abubakar. As Armen Petrosian, the prospect from the UK, Mohammed Makhachev, 8-0, right? Fight taking on Malcolm Gordon. So yeah, look, man, some crazy fights. If you look at, there was another crazy women's strawweight fight that actually got cancelled. Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Lemos. Yeah. That's just insane. This card's nuts. So
obviously, a lot of international fighters, because they wait for Abu Dhabi, and they obviously it's a great situation for these fighters to land on Fight Island.
Absolutely.
Like, you could tell it's close to the UFC. Like this, throughout the pandemic, the Fight Island was something that took the UFC to the next stratosphere.
Exactly, man. And they gave them a spot to perform, like when everyone else was sort of shut down. So I think this is sort of UFC's way of saying thank you. Here you go. Thank you. Hey, if I was possible, two big events are coming up for me, my personal life. So if I didn't have it, this is one of those events I would have actually considered flying down to, right? I would have loved to go, and that's it. And how many more people? And not just that, there's a lot of, fan events happening. I saw Leon Edwards there, Alexander Volkanovski's there, meeting fans and meet and greets and stuff, right? So it's just this crazy, man. We got like a massive social media influencers over there. Like it's like a festival up there, right? Yeah. And so it just adds to it. And then the pinnacle of that, at the top of that, is this card, right? Which happens up in, for us. Do we know the time? I feel like it's a very early card. I feel like it's going to be an extremely early card. I'm just going to... Yep, it's going to be a 5 a.m. main card, I believe, on Sunday morning.
Yep. Yeah, wow. All the Abu Dhabi ones are early for us.
Oh, yeah, 5 a.m. Yeah, I remember the Khabib one where we got up to watch that. But, hey, I'll be up, man. This is a fight I'll be up to. This is a card that I'll be up to, watch. So, look, no recaps or no highlights for me. I want to watch this live. I want to see what happens. I want to see that victory. The victory of the whole card. The card itself is sort of a celebration. So
for diehards, for casuals, no matter what level of fan you are,
caters to everyone.
This is the event you want to. Yeah.
It is the event. It is. We're here, right? Now. We got to quickly touch on something significant happening with the main event of UFC 280, which is Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. Now, I don't want this fight to be in jeopardy. I want this fight to go ahead. I do want to find out who the best lightweight is at the moment. There is a backup fighter for this fight, right? The pound for pound number one, Alexander Volkanovski, right? The one and only the one and only, right? The best fighter. Period. I think we were petitioning a lot for him to be that number one fighter, like given the body of work and sort of how dominant his wins have been. And finally it's happened. Like he's the number one pound for pound fighter, rightfully so. How many pound for pound number one fighters do you see? Forget pound for pound number one, right? Forget champions. How many top level fighters would say, "Hey, you know what? I actually go through the process of cutting weight and all that, and I'll weigh in, and I'll be ready for that fight if anything happens." But how many? Like a champion, man. This is what makes great champions, man. Like taking a risk. Anything could happen. He's not going to fight, go in there and fight duds. He's going to fight the best. Either one of these guys are at the top, like you said, the top of the lightweight mountain, right? He's going to fight the best of the best, right? And that's
Yep.
what makes Volkanovski better than the best, right? That's what it is, right? So, man, absolute champion, super proud, right? That he's one of us, right? Going out there and doing what he's doing, right? He's in Abu Dhabi at the moment, cutting weight as we speak. Right? He's ready to weigh in tomorrow, regardless. Right? Champion, man.
Mm.
Kudos to him. But I do want the Makhachev fight to go ahead, and then obviously the winner's going to fight um, Alexander Volkanovski, which is what Dane has implied. We're hoping in beautiful Perth, the RAC Arena. We're going to paint it. That's a tap, right? Just to quickly
Absolutely.
touch on that, right? How excited are you, man? We're getting it. We've been asking for it. We've been talking about this every day. We've been saying, Dana, let's do it, right? And Dana's done it. Dana delivers, right? Dana's coming down with this UFC organization in August, in February 2023. So 1 to 10, man. How excited are you for the card, for the event itself?
10, straight 10. We're there. We never miss an
Absolutely.
event. It's been time,
Absolutely.
4
Absolutely.
years, and we're here.
And
Volkanovski, Whitaker, maybe Jake, Bam Bam, Jack Medellina.
man,
Um,
we're
we're
gonna
waiting for the names. Obviously, we cannot wait to get confirmation, but a lot of the fights have to play out. The Reaper, there you see that hoodie.
The Reaper,
Um,
Robert the Reaper Whitaker. I mean, they're all hinting it, right? Robert's on his social media saying he always prepared to fight. Jimmy Cruz, saying, did we say there's a fight in Perth in February? Man, we've got top of the top talent at the moment to stack a card. We're talking about UFC 280 being stacked. If we're able to get everyone from Australia and New Zealand in one card, right? Could you imagine? That would probably be the most stacked card we got. We lay claim to the number one pound for pound fighter, right? We lay claim to, obviously, our region lays claim to one of the greatest middleweight champions in Israel Adesanya. We've got another legendary middleweight, former champ and legendary fighter in Robert Whitaker. We've got Jimmy Cruz, we've got Jake Matthews, and see what he did last time. We've got Dalla Maddalena, who's going crazy. We had Jack Jenkins, Bam, man. Look what I'm saying, right? Look,
contender.
Heavyweight contender, right? Like, he just fought Gane, right? And then think of it, we got Jack Jenkins, who just got signed into the UFC through the Contender Series, right? Another exciting fighter. Man, it's just endless, right? You can stack from prelims to main card with some of our own talent, right? And look, at the top of it, I hope and wish it's that lightweight title fight, because not only do we get to see the pound for pound number one fighter, but we're going to see him take on either Makachum or Oliveira for one of the most coveted titles in the UFC, which is the 155 title, right? So, man, and then if Volkanovski were to get that victory, could you imagine being the 145 pound GOAT, the pound for pound number one, then beating the best lightweight on the planet and claiming the second title, right? It's just unheard of, man. Unheard of. Like, tons of respect, man. Like, it's just he will surpass, I reckon, all champions, right?
Yeah.
Now already he's established himself as a legend of the game, future Hall of Famer without a doubt. So, man, it's just, that's it. I'm excited for Perth, man. RAC Arena. Let's stack that card. If you don't want to stack the card, let's do 2 events, right? Hey, don't forget we've got what 5 cities, right? 5 cities that can always go 4 cities, right? Or 3 cities if you want to say population, whatever, right? Let's do three, one pay per view and 2 fight nights. Why not? Right? You got the talent. You got the
Now you're
talent, right?
talking.
Let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
go. Like Pet RAC Arena, cannot wait, right? February 12th, mark it in your calendar, right?
Yep. No, I've been saying that. Yeah, I think we have all the talent. It's our region's time to shine, and I'm just
Man,
glad we've come back. The UFC's come back. Perth, here we come. But we'll be breaking down after this, obviously the recap, but then we'll be breaking down the big card in November, MSG,
yeah.
another banger, another huge one. But yeah, all eyes on Abu Dhabi this weekend,
Yeah.
and
What a
we
time
live
to
for
be an
this.
MMA fan.
Yeah, cannot wait, and we'll be there. We'll be
Cannot wait.
recapping it, and we'll see you back here on That's a Tap with CT and DJ.
That's a wrap until we catch you in another episode of
That's a Tap. Salute.
That's it. That's it.